was here.
Everybody, we all needed a good cry, right? That was amazing. Just wanted to thank Rob and the panel for today. It was a great session. I think you were, Rob, the perfect person to guide this discussion. You're thoughtful and welcoming dialogue made it seem so meaningful and easy for the siblings to get through that. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Cathy Rulli for our next session. Cathy's a CPA offering tax advice and support, including disability tax, presenting some of the many things to consider as we plan for the short and long-term future for our loved ones and family. Welcome, Cathy.
Yes, I'm short. Okay, I'll adjust it. Can let me know if you can hear me. Can everyone hear me? I will try to remember to talk into the mic. I apologize if I don't. Feel free to raise your hands and tell me I'm off, way off. It's been a while since I've done an in-person session, lots of online, so bear with me. So first a little bit about me. I feel so honored that I got to sit here and hear the siblings talk, because I am actually a sibling to a disabled person, and that's where my unique focus comes into play of being an accountant, so I can speak the professional talk, but also knowing the practical side of lived experience of a family member with a disability. So that's something unique I bring. So today I'm gonna talk on somewhat of a high level about the topics for today, which will be the authorized representative feature on CRA and why it's really important to those that have an adult child, the disability tax credit, the new Canada Disability Benefit, the RDSP, and the Henson Trust. So we won't be deep diving into all of them because they're all big, important topics, but more to get an understanding of why they're important to you for all of your planning needs at different stages, because obviously some of you have younger children, some of you have older children. So this will cover a wide range of ages. So the first one, the authorized representative. This is important, and it's becoming more and more important as identity theft, security concerns become more and more prevalent in this world. So it's overlooked step I find a lot of parents don't realize they should be doing that is easily accessible to everybody. What it does is it allows you to access their CRA account. It allows you to talk to CRA on their behalf. And multiple family members can be authorized. So this is where you've got those siblings growing up and becoming adults their own. You do not have to wait until a parent passes away. You can have mom, dad, cousins, aunts, uncles, whoever is going to be a supporter for your person. That the top reason to do this is what is happening now is you go in, you've set up your child's online account. They don't actually do it. You're doing it. You're on the phone with CRA and you say, oh, but I see this in their account. Everything gets locked out. You are locked out of your account. Your child is locked out of their account. The way to avoid it is simply by setting up a CRA authorized representative account, and any family member can do it. So now you know the why. Some important details to know about how. First of all, there are 3 different types of levels. The first one just lets you see information. That's it. The second level, which is what typically accountants and lawyers will get, is ability to change most features as well as access the information. And then level 3 is full access. So this is as if you are your loved one. So this requires the legal documents. So that's your guardianship, your power of attorney documents for that. So all family members generally would want to have a level 2 access. The difference between the level 2 and the level 3 is slight. They're about identity protection. It's painful, but at the end of the day, it is about keeping this vulnerable person safe. That's the purpose and role of it. So what are the differences? You can't change marital status. You can't change their name. You can't change their address. And you can't change direct deposit information. 4 things that don't happen often. The direct deposit is usually the most common one, where you're going to want maybe do a change, maybe you're currently getting check and you want to switch it over. Most of the banks, you can do it directly from the bank now. So that feature, not a concern. So that's the major difference between those two. So you might want to know, well, how do I do it? So I'm launching a new business, and on there will be a free resource on how to do it. It's going to be a video walkthrough to walk you through, this is how I become an authorized rep for my child. So you'll be able to go there and walk through all the steps and take care of this important step for your child. Okay. Any questions about that?
You're already locked out.
There is a new service that came into effect on October 20th that you can self-serve online to get yourself unlocked.
Really?
There is, brand new. They also put into effect as of September more people on the phones, so you now are actually getting through to an agent.
So this is through the CRA?
It's through CRA. Everything is through CRA. No one else can unlock you but yourself. But there is a new self-service feature online.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes?
For those of us who have still children, when should we be setting this up? I have a 12-year-old. When should I be setting myself up as a representative?
You can't do it until they're over 16. So federally, 16 is when they can sign. So that's why 16. Yes?
Is it a Form 59?
No.
What is the form that you fill out?
There is, so you basically have to do it online. Because if you do it by paper, that only gives you access to the phone. It does not give you online access. It's a brand, they put out a new form 3-4 years ago. It's called Auth. It doesn't have a number. It's AUTH, Auth. But that only gives you phone access. That will not give you online access. Yes?
Something that you have to redo every year?
No, it's you can set an expiry date when you go through. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that, but you could if you wanted to. You could also remove someone if, for some reason, someone became untrustworthy who you originally trusted. You could remove someone as well, too.
Can I just grab the mic if we're doing the questions so we can hear each other?
Sure.
Is there a handheld there?
Is there a handheld mic?
I don't
Where'd it
see
go?
one.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. Any other questions now that Michelle has the mic? Okay. So our next topic is the disability tax credit. This is probably, of all the topics I'm going to talk about, probably the one everyone's the most familiar with. It is a non-refundable tax credit, and I will be focusing on the pitfalls and problems that I see versus explaining the programs, because I think that's where most people get frustrated and not understanding exactly how it works. So being non-refundable means you have to have taxable income in order to benefit from claiming the credit. So when your child becomes an adult and they start receiving ODSP income, ODSP is not taxable income, so they cannot use it. But it is transferable to a supporting person, i.e. mom and dad. The supporting person needs to be providing financial support. CRA does not care about how hard your day-to-day life is and being a caregiver and managing everything. They only want to know what is your financial cost. They want to know, are you supporting them for food, shelter, clothing? That's it. Not medical expenses, not transportations, not therapy, none of that. Their interest is just those 3 basic items. And this is where parents mess up and they start talking about everything I do to support my child, to get dressed in the morning and to brush their teeth and shower daily and all those things. That is not what that part of the form is about. To be approved as a supporting person, they just want to know the financial side. The person must be related to you in order to be a supporting person. The DTC can expire. And I find a lot of people miss that. They do not send out a letter telling you it's going to expire. It is listed on your CRA account, so you can see the year. And on your notice of assessment in the year it expires, there's actually a note in there, but most people don't read it. It gets buried in there that says your DTC is set to expire this year. Make sure you renew. Most people miss that note. So you are responsible. What happens, I see 90% of the time, People will go to file their tax return, the DTC claim gets rejected, and that's when they find out it's expired. There is no renewal. They are all the same application process. It's the same whether it's the first time or the third time. It's worth almost $2,000 in tax savings for an adult and just over $3,000 for a minor. That might seem unfair. There's a caregiver credit that basically is much more for adults, so it balances out to about the same when you add in the caregiver amount as well too. So it's not as unfair as you might think at first glance. Some myths and common mistakes I see with the DTC, it's not based on diagnosis. You need to explain how the disability affects their daily activities. The walking, the showering, the eating, obviously eating's a huge one for you guys. All of those things, that's what they want to know. And that's where I see a lot of people mix this up, and particularly focusing on, well, my child can't work, or my child really struggles to go to school. Not what matters. What are their activities of daily living? Your walking, dressing, feeding. How is that impacted? That's where you need to focus your attention. This is old. The person with the disability must be bedridden. That was when the DTC originally came out. I still to this day hear doctors tell people, you do not qualify because you're not bedridden. Hasn't been this way for decades. It's far more inclusive. If you have a doctor that says that, just tell them no, they're wrong. And then this is where I see it probably the biggest issue is, I'm being stereotypical, I realize. Mom is typically the primary caregiver, the person who goes to all the appointments, does all the paperwork. So she puts her name as the supporting person on the form. But because you need taxable income, there's no actual money now. So always, always, always when completing that form, Part A number 2, put the higher earner on the form. You can also include a letter and ask them to put it on both parents' accounts. And this will give you flexibility, life changes, anything is possible in this life. But you can always put a letter asking it to go on both parents' accounts to give you the most flexibility. As I already said about wanting to know how the financial support, this is really simple. If they live with you, it's a simple statement. They live in the house I maintain. You're done. I know it seems too easy, but that's really all they need to hear. Once they live outside the home, this is where you might want to be a little bit creative. And let's say send your child by e-transfer $100 a month, $200 a month. You pick the number. And that's for groceries. Let their ODSP money pay for something they enjoy. That way now you're showing I give regular financial support for groceries. Now you can claim the credit. It's that simple. And so it's just often you're giving them that money anyway. You're just not structuring it in a way that you could prove it to the government. I also hear only the doctor can complete Part B. This is kind of true. They have to certify it. Medical doctor must certify it, but there's nothing stopping a parent from giving all the information that goes in the form. Because at the end of the day, you know far more about your lived experience than the doctor does, without question. So don't shy away from doing that and giving them the information they need to give you a well-prepared form. There are also services out there, third-party services. There's ones that charge flat rate. There's nothing wrong with that. Stay away from anyone who is going to take a percentage of your fee. You are going to lose tens of thousands of dollars by doing this. So anything else but that, just do not use them. And then also to know is applying for an adult, although I think most people in this room, you've likely applied while your child was a minor. But once they're an adult, there's currently a box on the form to auto-reassess returns. If your child is an adult, CRA will only auto-reassess their returns, not the parent. But if you've already been claiming it all along, it's a non-issue for you. But it is also a misunderstanding that I see frequently. So, once again, we're back to questions about the DTC.
What's a typical expiry? 3 years?
5 years.
5 years? I've never even looked at it.
5 years, often 5 years, and it depends, because they tend to do, I see a lot, particularly for minor children, 5 years, and then they'll often go till 18, 19. They'll do a minimum, so you might get 7 years, let's say if you applied at 11. They might give you 7 years to get you to 18 as an example. Or if you applied at 16, they're gonna give you at least until 21. It's typically how it goes. Key way to get, because they do offer indefinite, but it's often not given until they're an adult. So what I frequently see is parents apply twice when they're a minor, and then one again once they're 18, 19. And that 18, 19, you usually have a shot at getting indefinite. How you get it is, one, the doctor must put no, they are not going to improve. There's a question that says, will they improve? Yes, no, unsure. If you put yes, you're definitely getting a short time frame. If you pay unsure, it can go either way. Rarely though, it's almost always the 5 years. Pick no, you got a shot. It's still not always indefinite, but that's your shot. So make sure the doctor checks no, they will not improve. That's a great question.
Because ours ranked the first year, the doctor wrote indefinite right there.
And they gave it to you?
Yes.
Fantastic. It does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. It's just less common with minor children.
She said, the doctor said it's genetic,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot change genetics. That was the reason she said.
Yep. I know enough about your lived experience, having family friends, but CRA doesn't. They really don't. And I mean, I've heard families, level 3 autism, they're not getting indefinite. And it comes down to the combination between the form and the agent that's assigned. It's not a black and white, this is what they do. There's too much variability. So it's your best shot. Any other questions about DTC? Yes.
My daughter lives in a group home. She's lived there for over 10 years.
Yes.
It sounds like there's a possibility that I could use the disability claim. All the paperwork is in, can you hear?
Yep.
All the paperwork is in place.
Yep.
It sounds to me like there's a technicality where money gets transferred into an account that might allow my wife and I, to claim her
Yes.
on our tax return.
Correct. So she's already approved for the disability tax credit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But it's not listed that you and mom can claim it.
I wanted to be very safe in how I
Yep.
did my taxes.
Yep.
So I just backed off and said, I won't claim.
Okay, so it's listed, but you're not actually claiming it?
Yes.
Okay. It happens. It happens all the time.
Because she's living in a group home.
Because she's living in a group home. So you
She's
think,
financially taken care of.
right, so if you are providing, let's say for clothing on a regular, consistent basis, then that would qualify you to claim it. Now, here's some little caveats about CRA. The chance of them reviewing and asking you to prove how you financially support her are slim once you're approved. Can it happen? Yes.
It
But-
seems like their requirement is very minimal.
It is.
That surprises me because the benefit, it's not nothing.
No,
It's something.
it's a couple thousand, it's around the $3,000 mark when you factor in the caregiver amount too. Because the caregiver, if they have DTC approval, you automatically qualify for the caregiver as well too.
Yeah.
It goes automatically hand in hand. So they can send you a questionnaire saying, please tell us how you're financially supporting them. I have seen that happen. But I see people get covered for their parent that lives in long-term care.
Yeah.
I see the same as your situation in a group home. I actually have a couple clients and they claim it and we've never been asked.
I've taken an interest in personal finance and investing, and I look after my daughter's RDSB.
Mhm.
This is quite a treat having somebody so knowledgeable here today. and this is an area where I've taken an interest, but clearly I've fallen a little bit short in this one area. So, boy, moms and dads and caregivers just have so much on their plate. And I can't believe that I kind of slipped up in this one area. It's just great to be in a community like this where advocacy is everything, whether it's through sibling advocacy. There's been guardian angels that have been part of my daughter's life for a long, long time now, many decades. So this is, it's just amazing how, when we come here every year, there's a real nugget that we can take home with. We can't take home 6 or 7, but if we can take home 1 or 2, our community and the knowledge we share just benefits us all.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you for the acknowledgement. I truly appreciate it. And that is actually why I've started this second business, is I do feel like there's so much misinformation, and I see parents making assumptions, or I see, well, this is how it worked for me 4 years ago. Well, things have changed a lot since 4 years. And I see it time and time again, and it's upsetting to me because I know if you have someone in your life that has any sort of disability, you're already trying to manage too much. You're trying to figure out ODSP and DSO and DTC and RDSP and a Henson Trust, and I gotta have a will, and I gotta have trustees, and there's all these pieces coming at you, and somehow you have to stay on top of all of them because nobody's staying on top of it for you. So that's why I'm trying to sort of consolidate okay, here's the money part. Let's get this going, at least so we can understand it better and have some things that are paid. There's nothing that I started off on my first screen, you said, this is not individual advice. Because I can't, I'm not dealing with you one-on-one. Nothing beats one-on-one advice, without question. But there's a lot of you hearing that little bit and going, wait a second, maybe I can change something. So looking into it more, because the other thing is, websites like CRA, they don't have everything. All the little details aren't there. Everything is there, but you're not going to be necessarily know to connect all the pieces and what to do.
Not user-friendly.
It's better than it was. Every year they do get a bit better. Trust me, I could go on for days about my frustrations with CRA. They're very high at the moment. But yes, if you don't know what you're looking for, and it's sometimes very vague how things are worded. So we just do our best. Yes? The blue.
PTC, if you've missed claiming it, can't you go back 10 years and retroactively?
Yes, you can go back up to 10 years, which currently is to 2015 is currently how far you can go back to make adjustments for prior years. Yes, you can go back and do that. It is more likely when doing an adjustment that they will ask questions. And they actually on their website now have a tool to change it to make it easier for just the DTC portion. Anything else about the DTC before we move on to, I think it's RDSP. No, sorry, Canada Disability Benefit is next. No? Okay. We'll move on to the Canada Disability Benefit. This was a big one. There's been some bumps, but it rolled out starting July 2025. The first people got their $200 a month payment. It is worth up to $200 a month. You apply for it through Service Canada, not CRA. And this is important because we go back to that having online access to their account. As a representative, you would not be able to apply for them, which is why this is great that it's a standalone application. You do not have to rely on having access to a CRA account in order to apply. Key thing with this is you can support your child in applying. This is where we get into the difference of I sat down with a computer and we went through the steps together versus I just did it for them. That's what can get you in trouble when you're on the phone with CRA. So sometimes it's how we choose our wording when speaking with them to make sure we don't get ourselves in more trouble and complicate our lives more. For those that have children that aren't 18 yet, you can apply when they're 17 and a half, which means it'll start the month after their 18th birthday. But a key thing to know, and speaking about the current year, so for example, I actually have a teen who is turning 18 in January. For him to apply for this disability benefit means I needed to file a 2024 tax return. So my child that's 18 in January was actually 16 in 2024. So that means you might have to, if your child's birthday is January to May, you are going to want to file a tax return starting the year they turn 16. And yes, you can file a tax return just all zeros. Don't have to have any income. The only reason you're filing it is so they get this benefit.
Cathy, sorry, when you say file a tax return, you mean your child? needs
Your
to file
child,
it?
yes, yes. The child that, in this case, was 16. So you start the year that they're 16 if their birthday is January to May, so that they don't miss any months of the new Canada Disability Benefit. It's only for the Canada Disability Benefit. All the other benefits can start at 17. It's only CDB. A decision on eligibility is mailed within 28 days of applying. I know those particular that applied in the first round in June of this year. There have been some delays. They also, if you've seen the news, there was calculation errors for those that had working income. So like most government programs, it has started off with a few hiccups in the road. And hopefully many of you did not get caught up on that. Service Canada has started a My Service Canada account. And in there is now a dashboard for this new Canada Disability Benefit. Last time I looked, there really was nothing there, mail. That was it. But the intention is it will show the benefits, what's to be expected once they get this full dashboard up and running. There will be more details. Key thing to know is you do not have to reapply every year. So once you've applied for the first year, you're good. You don't have to do it again next year. However, your child's tax return does have to be filed every year in order to continue receiving that benefit. Any questions about the new Canada Disability Benefit? Okay. So the big one. This is the one I have the most to say about. It's complicated. It is so complicated. And if you think opening one is complicated, taking the money out can be even more complicated. The RDSP, the Registered Disability Savings Plan. I cannot stress this enough. This is meant as retirement savings for your child. I see so many people who think they can use it for education, they can use it to help buy a house. No. It is meant as retirement savings. That's how you have to think about it, always. However, it's so attractive because it is the most generous program out there for any sort of savings plan. It has the most generous match, it provides bonds, out of anything. It beats the RESP when you want to look at what it gives you. A common question I get is, should I be doing an RESP or an RDSP? It's a personal choice. It really, really comes down to what do you want to do. But I always remind parents, you need to take care of your own retirement first, because this is your child's retirement money, not yours. And you are going to need your retirement before your child needs theirs. So always keep that in mind. It's easy to be blindsided by free government money and lose sight of the fact that you might be forcing yourself into financial hardship when you hit retirement. The person with the disability needs to start filing tax returns when they turn 17. So once again, it can be a nil return. It needs to have no information, well, no dollars on it. It has to have their basic information. If you or your child is approved for the DCC, then you absolutely should open one. That's another question I get all the time. Should I open an RDSP? The answer is always going to be yes, you should open one. What you contribute is a different question, but you always should get an RDSP opened. So what I find a lot of people, because you're busy trying to be a caregiver, it's easy to get lost in the paralysis of, okay, but where do I even start? Where do I open one? How do I do this? I'm just already overwhelmed. So first and foremost, just pick a financial institution. If you bank at CIBC, we're all wearing them today, go to CIBC, they offer one. All the major banks offer an RDSP. The only two are TD and National Bank that offer self-directed. All the rest of the banks are the same. It's that simple. When you're ready to open, what you need to bring is the SIN for both yourself and your child, photo ID. If you are opening as a legal rep, that would be your guardianship power of attorney. You need to bring that with you as well too. I find some of the banks ask to see the actual DTC approval letter. Now, if you got that 20 years ago, probably not 20, okay, maybe you'd, yours was indefinite. You might not have a copy, because why did you keep this? I find a lot of the banks will take, you can take a screenshot from, or a printed copy from your benefit page on your MyCRA account that shows their eligibility. If you've been approved in the last, I'll say 2 years, the mail is now available. That letter is permanently available in your CRA online mail, but only for more recent approvals. You shouldn't need to, but you could call CRA and ask them to mail you a copy if it's older than 2 years. But I do find most banks are fine with that little screenshot of that page. So then the next step, once you've gone into the bank, you've done your part, you've filled out all the paperwork. The bank then sends the registration information to ESDC. It's basically Service Canada. And then they take till the 20th of the month following to actually register your account. So what that means is if I went into the bank and opened the account in September, by October 20th, it should now be registered with the government. Which means after the 20th, I can call ESDC and confirm, one, my account is registered, or my child's account is registered, and two, what is the maximum contribution I can make for the year? You don't need to rely on a calculator or someone told me or this is what I think. They will tell you over the phone. This is your number. They cannot tell you this until the account is registered. So the account has to be first opened and then registered, and then they can give you this information. So after that, you can make your first contribution if you choose. Like I said, the important part is just open it. Whether you contribute, that's a personal choice. Okay. Then on this page, so this is a sample of what the letter looks like. So then every year, once you're registered, they will send you a letter just like this. Comes in February, March of every year. And it shows you on the one side, this is the grant. So that's the maximum you can put in for the year for grant. So that's your maximum contribution. And if you put that in, this is what we're going to give you. And you will get this every year. So you never have to guess it. You don't have to rely on a financial advisor or someone telling you the number. You absolutely will get this information every year. If you don't, then the account is probably not properly registered. And you need to call the ESDC number to find out. If you're wondering what the ESDC number, it's actually right there on the letter. By phone, 1-866-204-0357. That's a special line just for the RDSP. Wait times generally aren't bad. I would say the last 2 weeks of December are awful with people trying to get in their last contributions for the year. So, what do contributions look like? As I told you, this is the most generous account savings plan that the government offers. So, I focused here on an adult whose only income is ODSP. So the annual amount of a bond is $1,000, up to $1,000, with a lifetime maximum of $20,000. Just by opening the account, your child will be eligible for bonds if their only income is ODSP. They will get $1,000 in the year just because you open the account. That's it. You don't have to put any contributions in to get the bond. Usually for families, your income is too high to qualify for the bond. It is income-based. But once again, because ODSP is not a taxable income, they're well below the limit. They're going to get the bond every year, which is why I say every family should always open up the RDSP. Contributions. Once again, for someone whose only income is ODSP, because contribution matching does have also annual limits. So for someone whose only income is ODSP, that's $1,500 a year. And the reason I've sort of marked here the lifetime maximum, because this will be higher if for their entire lifetime, they will only be eligible for 100% matching versus the 200 and 300%. So then grants, the maximum of any year is $3,500 with a lifetime maximum of $70,000, and that is whether it's through the 100%, 200, or 300 match. It's a total $70,000. So that means over their lifetime, they can get $90,000, which is why I say you can be easily distracted by free $90,000 versus taking care of your own retirement. It's easy to get blindsided by that. It's also important to know that there's a maximum lifetime limit for contributions, which includes rollovers, of $200,000. So even in this example, let's say we're only doing $30,000 in contributions, there's still potential for some tax planning for an additional $170,000 in this example. So it's great to talk about putting the money in, and as I said, taking the money out is actually the harder job, believe it or not. Because the account is intended for retirement, there does require to be a 10-year gap, and I find people really mix this one up, between the last grant and bond paid and the first withdrawal. 10-year gap between those. It's not 10 years from the first time I put it in and I can now take that money out 10 years later. No. Last money in, first money out, 10-year gap. There must be 10 years. And that's why this is intended for retirement. If you do withdraw before that 10-year gap, they will take a penalty of $3 for every dollar you withdraw. Penalty is massive. Do not plan to do it. It is for retirement savings. I cannot stress this enough. It's for retirement savings. That is the purpose of this account. Also to know about the withdrawals, while I gave you that money for free, when your child takes it out, it is taxable. When you look at all the list, the account is made up of contributions, which are not taxable. They get that money back tax-free. But everything else is taxable. The good news is, if their only income is ODSP, they have their personal limit. So easily $15,000, and it goes up every year. They can get out tax-free. Then as well, and this is factors to consider, we go back to that DTC. Your child can use their own DTC to take out money of an RDSP tax-free as well too. But now you're not getting the credit on your tax return. So there's decisions to be made. And once again, my note about the 10-year gap, because that is really critical. Because I see a lot of families upset to realize they can't access this money. Some terms to be aware of about the account. PGAP, which is primarily government assisted plan, simply means the government put more money in than you. The opposite term of that is non-PGAP, which means you put in more money than the government. Why this matters? There are withdrawal rules. I'm sorry, just let me see. No, I'll go into this next page, sorry. And then LDAP is the lifetime disability assistance payment. So this is once you start making withdrawals, and they are going to take out a minimum amount every year. So you need to think of it now, it's become like a pension or a RIF. And what happens with those types of income is you're going to get it every year, something from them every year. The number changes every year because it is an age-based formula. It's meant to work exactly like a pension, and you cannot stop it once you start LDAPs. There is no way to end it. So once you start, you're locked in. So you can't think, we've done a 10-year gap, we're going to start getting it, now we're going to start putting money back in again. It doesn't work that way. You can't do it. Why does it matter when I talked about the PGAP versus the non-PGAP? PGAPs are limited to 10%. You can only take out, the maximum money that can be taken out is 10%. And any year. A non-PGAP, there is no limit. They could drain the whole thing in 1 year. Not advisable, but it could be done. So this makes a huge difference for planning purposes. And this is where it gets very individual, where you want to look at that rollover piece that I mentioned earlier. So that's your RSPs. That when you pass away, do you want to roll them over into this RDSP to bump it up and give more flexibility in where the money is coming from? So it's a key piece to consider when you're doing your estate planning. So just to summarize some good to knows about the RDSP, there is an exception for shortened life expectancy. If a doctor will certify that the person with the disability is not expected to live more than 5 years, you can take out 10 grand a year. Without the clawback, I should specify, without the clawback. I showed you already that get the annual statement from ESDC. Basically, your investing options with these accounts are those two self-directed, the TD and National Bank. Everyone else is pretty much mutual funds. Financial institutions have some flexibility in the withdrawals. I said you could do up to 10%. There's this age formula and there's this 10%. They all do the age formula. Not all institutions offer the 10%. It's important to know you can only have one RDSP. Each beneficiary can only have one. So this means, let's say you find out the institution you set up the RDSP with will only do the age-based formula. They won't do the 10%. You can transfer it to an institution that does the 10%. Can't open up a second one, but you can transfer the account. Or if you just don't like the person managing the money, you can transfer the account. You're not stuck with them, even though you can only have one. The whole reason for RDSPs and Henson Trust, which I'm about to talk about next, is that ODSP has a $40,000 asset limit. And this is for single. I believe it's 50 for couples. The RDSP is exempt. It is exempt as an asset. It does not count for the $40,000. And when they start withdrawing money, it also isn't included as income for ODSP purposes. So both sides, you're fine with an RDSP. There are no problems from that standpoint. Okay, so some last planning tips. This is more when it comes down to, you had siblings speaking earlier, this is stuff at some point in time you want to either share with them or write it down and put somewhere. What financial institution has the RDSP? You'd be surprised how many families come to me and they don't know. They've talked about it, they've heard they have an RDSP, but where is it? Nobody knows. How are the funds being invested? Does whoever the next generation is that is going to take over, do they know what you've been doing, who your financial advisor is, where they can go to get support if they need it? You need to be sharing this type of information. You should have an idea of how much grant or contribution room is left. From a planning purposes, because the next point is, if we plan to still make contributions, where's that money coming from? And do you have a plan? We know we need this 10-year gap. We want them to start to be able to access the money at 50. So are we planning on ending contributions at 40? Do you have a plan? And then how do you want the funds to be used? Do you see a way of how they're going to support your loved one? So those are all some things to consider when you're having an RDSP. It was a lot. There's a lot about RDSPs. Any questions?
Yes, about the investing option part. I was just curious, so you mentioned TD and National Bank can be self-directed.
Yes.
So does that mean that, because the money's for retirement, so I think it's a good thing to be able to invest it. Can be invested in the market?
Yes. So a self-directed account is going to allow you to choose your own stocks, your ETFs. So it's the same as any self-directed account. So basically with investing accounts, your options are managed and self-directed.
Okay, because we are with the jardin, like pretty much I cannot do anything. Everything it has to be a call and
Yes.
they kind of, so TD, and I could transfer it there and I can start having fun with it.
Yeah. Yes, if you are comfortable, listen, I've been a self-directed investor since my 20s. So it's our thing. So yeah, you can transfer to either one at any time. You can open a second one. That's the key thing. If you contact TD, they'll initiate all of it. You won't even really have to have a discussion with your current provider. But yes, Desjardins, I believe, is just mutual funds. They might do mutual funds. Everyone else seems to offer mutual funds because that's what managed accounts are. That's how they make their money. Versus if you do want to switch, you absolutely can switch. Yeah, to get that flexibility. And if you're comfortable, it's a great option. If you're not comfortable, be happy with what you got. Don't worry, it's not for everybody. There's options.
I apologize for the morbidness of this question, but my daughter's the older one, so she has an RESP, my son the younger one, an RESP.
Mm-hmm.
I plan on max funding as long as I can.
Yeah.
Tragedy befalls her in her 30s. What happens to the money I contributed? Where does it go? And how do I access it? How do I get it to my son?
So the RESP can be transferred to a sibling. So that one's easy. The RDSP, so when someone passes away, you cannot name a beneficiary. So it gets paid to the estate. They do the 10-year clawback calculation. Anything is taxable the same to the estate. And that's how it works. And then from there, as far as, I'm assuming they don't have a will. If they have a will, it'll make things a little bit easier if they have a will. The reason being, if they don't have a will, you've got to go through the courts to get someone assigned, and then they're just going to go through the list. So Ontario, every province has pretty much the same list. So technically it would go to mom and dad because they come before siblings on the list. But mom and dad can gift it to sibling easily. That's their choice. So you would have that option without a will. And it's important to know, particularly because you cannot designate a beneficiary for when they pass. It will go through probate. The banks almost always are going to require, even with a will, they're going to tell you, no, you got to probate this before we'll pay it out. So be prepared for that. And it's a great question. I know it's morbid. I talk to people about it all the time. Michelle's going there. You got here? Yeah.
So just a question about that last statement you made. So if the individual has a will,
Mm-hmm.
and could they direct that to an irrevocable trust and skip probate? Or avoid probate, not skip it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right, thank you.
Okay, just wait. Just got over here, had a question, and then you're next.
Thank you. I just wanted people to understand that these registered programs like a TFSA, an RDSP, even an RESP, they're not fair. They benefit the privileged.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many of you in the room can automatically come up with $7,000 to invest in a TFSA each year for you and perhaps your partner. So the RDSP is similar in that, yes, when you register for the RDSP account, all you have to do is your son or daughter's tax return, and you will get a bond. And so that bond, over the course of 20 years, will give you the grand total of $20,000. If you have extra money, then you can make a contribution each year that'll lift that $20,000 into something much greater. My wife and I have been contributing a little bit each year, but it's never the maximum. I can't even really afford to generate enough TFSA money each year for my own personal benefit or our benefit. So these programs are wonderful. They are certainly a benefit, but if you have a really good income, you can really max out on these contributions, which will give you a much loftier sum 10, 20, 30, and 40 years from now. But if you're stretched each year and all you can do is see that registered account benefit your son or daughter $1,000 each year, it's $1,000 this year, $1,000 the next year. So it's going up in very small amounts. You can see that account as a pension 20, 30, and 40 years from now is really going to be minimal, especially given the cost of inflation on the dollar. So I just wanted all of us to sort of acknowledge that it's not really, there is a benefit, but it's not really fair. The privileged really do much better than the average person.
Oh. And I think you had over
Take one
here.
more question, so.
Over here, she had a question.
I would like to ask, so when person passes away before the time, do you get the full amount, or whatever the government contributed, you are not getting it?
So it's the same 10-year rule. So they'll take $3 back for any contributions or bonds paid in the 10 years. So it depends on when the last was made. So they do the 10-year clawback first, and then anything that's left after that is paid out to the estate. But that's taxable.
So we are getting back only what we contributed, not what the government.
No, you might get, but so let's say you put in for 20 years. Let's use it as an example. You've had this for 20 years. So 10 would go back to the government. Okay, if you put in 1,000 a year, let's just say, I'm going to use this simple. Let's say they just get the bond.
So let's say we contribute $20,000, how much we will get back?
Of the contributions, you get 100% of your contributions. Always. Always can get back your contributions. It's only the government money that gets clawed back. So, if over those, and I'm going to use simple numbers to make this easy. Let's say you've contributed 20, you've gotten 20 in bonds, we're doing 20 years, 20 in bonds plus another, I'm just going to keep this simple, 40. So you've got $60,000 that's government money. Half of that, so 30, is going to go back to the government, and you're going to get 30 that is taxed.
And we have to wait 10 years.
No, you can't wait 10 years. If the beneficiary passes away, the account is closed right then. You cannot wait the 10 years anymore.
How much is it taxed? How much is it taxed?
It's based on your marginal tax rate. Yes, so so it might be 20%, it might be 50%, depending where you fall on the
So it
spectrum.
bumps our income for that year.
So you can do an estate tax return and do it separately as an estate. Sometimes it's beneficial to claim it on the parent's return, and sometimes it's beneficial to do an estate return. That's where I help.
Thank you.
You're the last one. If you maximize like all your contributions under the RDSP, what is the youngest age to be able to still benefit from the 10-year gap that you could get the money at?
It depends.
Like if you started,
So let's say if you started at 20, because I'm just going to use easy math, 20 years, because if you've been on ODSP, your only income is ODSP, so you're able to max out in 20 years. Okay, if you started at 20.
but what if you
So
started
that
at
would
like
be,
5 years, when they're like 5 years old?
see, now it gets more complicated. Or one, you can start at birth. You can start at birth year. The problem is when you start at birth year, for many parents, your income, you're only getting 100% match versus the 200 and 300% match. So it's going to be more years,
Yeah.
right? So it depends. You literally have to sit down and do the math to decide which is better, like when it will actually end. But going with the simple one, which is, because I see this frequently, I see a lot of parents who wait until their child is an adult so they can get the maximum 200 and 300% match. So 20, by 40, you stop, you're done. You've done 20 years of contributions. At 50, they can start. In that example. Now, if you start from birth, you're going to hit there sooner than 40. You're going to max out before 40. Right? Because you're going to have all those years from the first 20 years where you've only gotten 100% match, and now you're going to get the higher match. So it's how the numbers work out. And for some families, you might have 1 year or 2 years or 5 years. You might have all 20 years that from birth they qualified at the higher rate, because it is a much higher income before you get to the 100% versus the 200 and 300. So it's possible to start from birth, and by 30, they're taking out money. It's possible. Is it common? No, but it's possible.
Okay. Thank you.
It's literally the math.
Yeah.
We're gonna end the session, but I had one comment for you. When you're talking, are you talking Ontario only?
For the RDSP, no, it's federal.
It's federal, right?
It's federal. So speaking for other provinces, every province, Alberta has AISH, BC has PWD. They're the equivalent to ODSP. So it's your provincial disability benefit plan. Where there are slight changes is, for example, the asset rules. Every province has separate asset rules for how much you can have and not be exempted from your provincial benefits. So there is variability there, but the withdrawal rules, the matching, the income limits is federal, so it's the same for all provinces.
So that was my next question. You're familiar with Canada-wide, all provinces, and what they offer for?
For the RDSP, yes. Mm-hmm. I'm far more familiar with Ontario because this is where I live.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Cathy.
You're welcome. So we did have one more topic. Do you want me to touch on Henson Trust? It's quick, or you're too late?
Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'm going to run this quick. Basically, the Henson Trust is a tool to leave an inheritance to your child. The reason is, I already mentioned it before, in Ontario, 40K limit for assets. So if they are going to inherit more than 40K, you could run into a problem with ODSP. So that's why the Henson Trust becomes so important. Thank you. That's why the Henson Trust becomes so important. That's what it's about. Key thing I see many people tell me, I have a Henson Trust. No, you likely have instructions in your will to set up a Henson Trust when you pass away. These are very distinctive differences, because until it exists, you really don't have anything to worry about. You just need to have those instructions in your will. You generally are only going to want one to have for when you pass away. I'm not going to read about the inter vivos and having one when you're alive because we are short in time. So I'm going to focus on the last page. If we can move again. Perfect. Important thing to know, and this is Ontario specific, so there could be differences between other provinces. ODSP has a gift limit of 10K per 12 months. This is rolling. You cannot take out 10K December 31st and another 10K January 1st. It is a rolling 12 months. This is important. People get caught in this one. 10K limit includes all gifts. So technically, the money you gift to qualify for the DTC, that's a gift. That comes out of the same 10K limit. So it's important to know all gifts. There's an exception for Henson withdrawals if you can relate it to the disability specifically. Some are going to be obvious, like therapy or respite. Others might get more tricky, less black and white, and it's going to depend on the disability. Example I use often is transportation. Depending on the nature of someone's disability, you might have a big sensory profile, and taking public transit is absolutely out of the question. Can you justify purchasing a vehicle with Henson Trust money because of the disability? This is not black and white, and it's going to depend on the specifics of the person's disability. People get creative on this. You need to be able to rationalize it, and it needs to make sense. And at the same time, you can't go out and buy them a Lamborghini. That's not going to go. With a Henson Trust, you're likely going to have a responsibility to file T3 returns. You're going to need an accountant for that. You need to keep a set of books. They can be Excel, they can be basic, but you need to keep records. It's like having a business, basically. I see people get caught up with T3s are due March 31st, not April 30th. where people most commonly get tripped up is they invest some of that money, which is a fabulous idea, but it's invested in mutual funds. Mutual funds don't have to be mailed out slips until March 31st. So you can run into problems there. And my last note on this is only one trust can be designated as a qualified disability trust. What that is, a Henson trust is a qualified disability trust typically. Basically someone with DTC approval. Why do you want this? It gives favorable tax treatment. Most trusts are taxed at 50%. A qualified disability trust, the same as personal, it's graduated. So we can go anywhere from in Ontario 20% to 50%. So there's a big value in doing that. So where this comes into play, where I see it is grandma passes away and she left some money to all the grandchildren and your child is put in a Henson trust. Gives instructions to put it in there. Now mom and dad pass away, now we have a second trust. The trust cannot be merged. You cannot put them together. So now you have to decide which one is going to be getting favorable tax treatment. And now we get into, should we put money into the RDSP? Close one out, put it all into the RDSP, and we're done. That's where all the planning comes into play. So, that's it. Sorry it was fast at the end, but the RDSP was huge.
Thank you so much, Cathy. Round of applause.